Hello, everyone. Welcome to Live Out Loud Wednesdays. Today's topic is mental health. What does mental health mean? What does it include? Mental health is emotional, psychological, and social well being. Um, it affects how we think, we feel, and we act. It also helps determine how we handle stress related incidents and how we handle others, how we make healthy decisions, as well as our choices in life. Mental health is important to in every stages of life, from adolescent to adulthood. Um, I think mental health to me is one of my greatest topics. What about you guys?
Well, I guess,
I agree.
yeah, I don't know if it's
I
necessarily the greatest topic, but it's a real topic, though. I mean, it's reality. I think a lot of people deal with different type of mental health issues that they don't even know that certain things are considered mental health issues. So I think that's another thing we should touch on today too, is just the awareness of it.
I think the only thing I disagree on is mental health can happen even before you're an adolescent. It affects you. My son was diagnosed with PTSD at 7, so it's definitely early on in life. It can affect you. Your mental health is like your whole life.
For me, I think that mental health is like just what it is. It's the health of your mind. And I think it ties into everything in our life, like how we socialize with people, how we think, how we respond, our quality of life. I think that our thoughts shape our reality. So whatever's going on inside of our head is what we're living. And I think that it's like very, very important. I think it goes hand in hand with your physical health. Um,
Hmm.
I think that we don't probably give it enough credit or take care of it enough. We don't even recognize it as being a real thing that you need to take care of. I know I'm speaking from my own personal experience. Within the last maybe 3, 4 years, I just now became conscious of what mental health really was. And now, just recently, within the last 2 years, I've become conscious of taking care of my mental health. But you need to, take care of it. Just like you go to the gym to work out, you probably need to have someone to help you work through your thoughts and things like that. And make sure you're having positive thoughts. And if you put bad stuff in your mind, just like if you eat bad food, it can poison your mind. Man, your mental is what controls you. Between your mind and your heart is what really controls your life and controls how you function and how you think and everything. So that's what mental health means to me.
Amen. I agree 100% with you, Veronica. I couldn't have said it better myself. It's really, it affects everything in life. The sooner that you kind of come to realization, that something could be an issue and something can be wrong, the quicker you can get that support. And the quicker you can, kind of get that imbalance to be balanced again. My mother, actually, I come from a family of mental health issues, so I've seen it like firsthand, and it could be scary, and just really sad watching it.
I also come from a family who has a lot of different mental health struggles, from my great grandmother on my mother's side, who was diagnosed with bipolar schizophrenia. Like, she used to um, water down the insides of her house with the water hose and things like that, just because she felt like the inside of her house was dirty and all kinds of stuff was going on. I didn't get to really experience being around her, but I was taught at an early age that I always have to be on top of my mental health based off of those things. My mom always encouraged that, and so did other people in my family that, encouraged us to be on top of it. If we feel something out of whack, get control of it immediately, best that we could. And no, I mean, I didn't always follow that advice. So, but I mean, I'm sure we've all had mental health struggles um, in adulthood. Uh, Things that you don't even oftentimes know is related to mental health. You just be going and flying by the seat of your pants every day, like, oh, this is life. But really, you're struggling with your mental health. You got to have your mental health in check like you got your physical health in check. So,
So I'll let you guys in on a little secret of mine. Yes, I am a mental health case manager. And I tell my clients all the time that I believe very big in mental health. I am not a big believer in mental illnesses due to the fact that I feel like if we were to put the right person in the right predicament, in the right setting, they could either thrive and flourish or they can disintegrate. I do not believe in mental illnesses due to the fact of I believe that once upon a time there was people that were in higher situations and powers and did not understand the next person. And so it was just so easy for them to throw a label on it and say that this person suffers from this. Now, do I believe that in some people there may be an imbalance of some chemical in the brain? Yes. But who's to say that that really is a mental illness? Who's not to say that just because we are all human and we are uniquely designed, that that's just not how God created us and it is what it is? Um, I do not believe in the illness. I do believe in mental health, and I believe that anybody that is struggling with bad mental health, put in the right environment, could flourish. My mom was a schizophrenic, and I ended up getting into mental health because I wanted to understand a lot more about her and why she did the things that she did and everything else. And so I got into mental health when I was 16, and I've been in mental health ever since. And it helped me understand that people in certain environments um, are capable of doing a lot more to be able to get in a position or a predicament that they're trying to get to, which brings on a lot of different struggles in life. You know, if we are living in poverty and we're trying to figure out how we're getting our next meal and, you know, we're around a bunch of negative people, that's all we know. And until mentally we can rise up and say, you know what, this isn't for me and I want better, how do you make that change?
Well, that's just the thing too. Like, he's been intentional about the thoughts that we're having. Um, we have to train our mind, like, especially if we come from a place where all we know is the same thing, all we seeing is the same thing. We have to be intentional about, okay, well, what can I feed myself? What can I look outside of what I can see around me and feed my mind something different so I could believe and think of something bigger than my circumstances or what I'm seeing right now. I was somebody who dealt with that for a very long time. I'd seen absolutely nothing wrong with what was going on because it was my normal. It was like, in my mind, this is life. This is the best that it gets. This is what it is, and this is just how we live. But that affects your mental health because you put in like a ceiling on how far you can go because you come to terms with this is as good as it gets. And that's like a bondage all within itself, which I feel like is a problem with mental health because we can dare to dream, and dreams are so broad and they are so, you could dream about anything, but when you have that cap on it, it kind of stops like right there because your mind can't think of anything bigger than what it is that you see. And so, like, now for me, it's more so like speaking life into myself and speaking life into my situation too. thinking this, not just saying it, but believing it and putting it in the forefront of my mind. Like, I'm going to have this. I'm going to have generational wealth. My kids are going to be okay. I'm going to be okay. That really will train your mind to believe and think positive things, which in turn will create a positive life. But mentally, if we're bound up, so even like there's bipolar and depression in my family. I could claim that. I could say, okay, well, my family is known for having that, which they are, medically speaking. But I'm not going to claim that. I'm the bipolar not touching me, and neither is depression. Even if I feel sad one day, I'm going to speak something that will speak life to my depression. If I'm feeling indifferent and I know that it's something trying to take over me and trying to make me be something that I'm not, I'm going to catch it right then and there. Do I have my days? But I think that most of it is just being intentional about what you're letting play out in your mind. Depression is a slippery slope, because once you let that one thought tell you that you feel some type of way, then it's going to lead into, well, I feel this way because no one loves me. And I've always been like this. And it's just never going to get any better. And now you're in a deep depression for real, which is really your mental health. We just have to be mindful. And then sometimes we need therapists. Sometimes we need medication, like Davina was saying. There are chemical imbalances. And it's just, it might not even be a long-term thing. You might need something just to get you balanced. And that's it. It's not a dedication for the rest of your life. Like, I have to take this medicine forever and ever and ever. It doesn't work that way. And then sometimes you may. But I think that us being intentional about taking care of it is step one, right? No matter what the doctor may say, no matter what it is, you don't have to claim it, but you do have to recognize it. You do have to be real with yourself and say, okay, I shouldn't think like this. Like, a lot of us from where I'm from think it's okay if somebody upsets you to put your hands on them. That's not cool. You have a mental health problem because that's your norm. You think that's all right, and that's not all right. So all of these things are tied into our mental health because it's what we think, but we don't even think that it's a mental health thing. We think it's just how I am. This just what I do. And that's a mental health problem because you're telling yourself that you won't ever be anything more than what you are in this moment, which can be sad, which can be depressing, which can be give you an unhopeful life. It can and it can not only go from your mind, but it can start taking over your body. Now you're sick. Now you have cancers and you have high blood pressures and you have all of these things because you've been feeding yourself all of this negative stuff, which started here in your mind. So I think, the thing that I just really thought about just saying all of this stuff is that it starts in your mind, and we have to catch it right then and there. So um, that's what I have for that.
Well, I can agree with that. I kind of had two different perspectives of mental health struggles. I dated, and not even going to refer to who exactly he is, but I dated a person who struggled with mental health that I was dating for some years. And it was the whole like beginning stages, getting diagnosed, starting medications, trying different medications, different psych ward visits, things like that. So from the outside looking in, it just was like me thinking, oh, he just doesn't want to take his medication. Oh, he just does not want to do this. Fast forward to, I have a new baby after 35, and I experienced postpartum depression for the first time, which is also mental health. And everyone was like, why do you feel sad? You just bought a house, you got a new baby, you have a great relationship. And I'm like, I don't know. I can't control this feeling of wanting to cry and not feeling important, and then, life happened and more things got bad. And I was like, feeling like my life was spiraling out of control. So I did reach out for the first time. And, growing up, and I'll say this, in the African American community, that's shunned upon. What you mean you got mental health? Girl, you just broke today. You just feel bad because you broke or because your relationship's not working and things like that. So it's like there are a lot of African American women and men who are not diagnosed because of the fact that it's a stigma. Nobody wants to be labeled the crazy girl or the crazy guy because of what they're dealing with, but a lot of us deal with it. And a lot of us just chop it up as saying, like, oh, I had a hard life. Oh, I had this. Oh, I had that. But it's really internally, like Veronica was saying, the way you talk to yourself, the things you feed to your brain. And I did start taking, medication, being, having postpartum depression. Am I on it now? Absolutely not. But I think it was one of those things that I needed to take to get myself at a certain level mindedness to where then I realized, like, okay, I got it now. Like, and I just stopped taking it on my own, but it was more like me having to process the fact that this is the first time I'm not in control of my thoughts. I'm not in control of the way I feel. And it was a very dark and empty feeling. And I wouldn't wish it on anybody, honestly. Like, I don't know, I could only imagine what people go through on a regular basis who do have other mental health issues, but postpartum depression is not, I mean, I know it can have been worse than what I've had, experienced, but what I went through, I wouldn't wish that on anybody. So I feel like now that I experience it on my own, I'm a little bit more compassionate of, people who are going through things. I think when I was younger, you see people and you hear about it and you just like, oh, they just don't want to listen. Oh, they just don't want to go to therapy, thinking it's just one of those things. But the person that I dealt with, clearly I have to still deal with this person throughout the rest of my child's life. But just knowing that it's still a struggle. And, all these years later, and it's not, some people just are not compliant. And that's the number one thing in mental health is non-compliance of medication, non-compliance of therapy. And then I think that's another reason why I went back to school for psychology. So I'm almost done with that, but I think it's more interesting to try to understand the way that people's minds work and the way that things can tick and postpartum depression and PTSD, and it's so many different factors to it where it's like it's not just one thing. It's not just schizophrenia. It could be schizophrenia with depression and manic, it's so many different levels to it where it's like somebody could have the same exact thing and their responses are different. So it's never a one track, one diagnosis type of thing, depending on what people go through. So that's just my bit on it. But yeah.
So I want to chime in because I know, again, kind of like on what Veronica was saying, I have been diagnosed with anxiety. My mother, she's schizophrenic. I got a brother that's bipolar. And I have an uncle, God rest his soul, and he's also, he was schizophrenic. So it's major in my family. And I feel like, you know, I was on meds too. I've talked to you about that, Devin. And for me, they were really like they were helping, but I too recently just stopped taking my medication. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna try to do something different. And one thing I will say that I've noticed for me, and this might be the same thing for others, and it might be a nugget that you could just take away. When I changed my environment, my anxiety went away. Like I still get anxious sometimes, about certain things, my kids and stuff. Like that's kind of like the natural, the normal. I'm a mom, so of course I'm gonna be anxious about my kids. But like once I got myself out of, my bad relationship, and once I started to kind of have, more focus on God, more focus in my walk of faith, and then just self-care. I started putting myself first. I started like saying, okay, it's so hard because all my life I've never put myself first, literally never. It's always either been my kids or my kids and then my man, because my kids always came first, but it was just, I never put myself first. But recently, about a year ago, when I had like a really, really bad experience with my MS, I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I'm not going to keep spreading myself thin. I need to put myself first. When I let go of that relationship and I started to water myself, it was easy for me to get off of my anxiety meds. Like I didn't even have to wing myself off. Like I was fine. It almost to the point where I questioned, did I ever need those medications? You know what I'm saying? Because usually people will get sick when they don't take them, because I know that happens for my mom. Like it was crazy. Like I literally just stopped taking them cold turkey and I was fine. So I did want to chime in on that and just, if anybody does struggle with anxiety, like I can't speak on any other, but just, change your circumstance if you can, start getting, more in touch with yourself, putting yourself first, and acknowledging those things that may be triggering for your anxiety. That's my bit.
So I'm in the middle of doing that right now with moving out of this house. So for me, the anxiety is subsiding. I got an $879 bill to clean out my garage, and I had two friends tell me, we can come over and help you sort through everything in the garage, and we can help you. No, that's not my business down there. I'd much rather pay the 800 and something dollars to get it gone and up out of my life, because it ain't got nothing to do with me. That down there, that in there, it ain't got nothing to do with me. Like, that's not my business. It wasn't my business when he put. So I'm gonna give y'all the backstory on that real quick, because it really affected my mental health from the moment it was done. And I think it continued to over the past 7 years. So my marriage had already ended pretty much. He was just still here. And so his mom had passed away. And his mom's belongings, his sister had them, but she moved away. And so he called me at work and was like, my sister moving, I don't want to lose mom's bed and stuff, just in case, I move, I need to have stuff, with me if I move or whatever. I was like, no, it can't go in the garage. That's exactly what I said. I came home 2 hours later, it was a U-Haul in my garage, and all this stuff was being moved into my garage. When I had already told you, I'm already dealing with my stressful, raggedy marriage to you, and I already told you what not to do, but you did it anyway. So that automatically irritated me. It was a bed, some mattresses, or dresser down there, dining room table, and I got rid of a lot of it. But my point is so when he left, he never came back and got the stuff. His niece came and took some of it. So right now it's like a dresser, but I took all his stuff out of my closet, out of everything in my house, put it in a box and put it all down there. Anything that belonged to him and that was his is down there. Any memorabilia from us being a family is in the storage down in the garage. So anything, Christmas trees, whatever it was that we did or operated with as a family, in that family, it ain't in here, but it's down there. And so, yes, to sort through it, I felt like would be reliving a level of trauma that I did not need to relive. And so I have junk luggers coming to get it on Friday, the 19th, and it's costing me $879. But here's my thing. I'd much rather pay the 800 some dollars for something that ain't no longer my business, because I'm flourishing, right? Because I'm getting up out of here, because it's no longer going to have that mental hold over me, over my health, because for so long it's been weighing on me. It's been weighing on me so hard, and it's been controlling. I haven't been in that garage, y'all, since 2016 myself. That's me. Rashi's gone down there. He's put the cars in there, whatever. He takes the garbage. When I say I have not gone in there, I have not gone in there since 2016. That's a long time to not go in a part of your house. That tells me right there that, again, that affected my mental health. So getting it removed, knowing that it's happening, knowing that the people are coming, this level of something has subsided inside myself, this level of anxiety that I had, I no longer have that. Like, I just don't have that feeling that I've had all those years. It's like a cloud is lifting, even in the midst of getting rid of everything that I'm getting rid of. Again, a cloud is being lifted. And I guess I didn't realize my mental health was so much affected so much by all of this change and everything. I was talking to my cousin earlier, and I told her something about myself that I just realized that I live a lot in the past. Like I don't know how to let go of certain things in the past because I fear change. And so that's something that's affected me mentally probably since I was a little girl. When I left kindergarten, I cried profusely like my mother passed away. And all that was because I didn't want to change teachers and go to first grade. And that lasted for quite some time. But then when you take that out of the equation and then you move, I moved from one side of Michigan of Detroit to another side of Detroit. Again, that's more change, that's more trauma. So it's like all of the mental struggles that I had as a child, I had some level of anxiety, right? If I'm worried about switching teachers and switching whatever. And then I had to switch schools in fifth grade. And when I did that, again, another level of anxiety. Then I had to move whole states. I had to move from Detroit, Michigan, completely moved to Inver Grove Heights, Minnesota, completely culture shocked me. I'd never seen a white person in my life too much. And then I come to Minnesota, and that's all that I'm surrounded around in schools and everything. And different, just the culture was very different for me. So again, more anxiety, more trauma. Then you talk about getting into relationships, and then again, it's more trauma and more anxiety. So I pretty much diagnosed myself with PTSD. I pretty much diagnosed myself and said, hey, you know what? I got post-traumatic stress disorder. But I guess being able to say this to y'all, because I really try not to hone in on it. I try to work through it. But I'm actually opening up and saying that to everybody and letting people know where I'm at and where I've been, because there are people out there that struggle with it and functionally struggle with it like I am, but at the same time don't know how to admit it to themselves and don't know how to say, hey, something been going on for quite some time. I just came to the realization that I've had this issue since I was a little girl. I had to go dive all the way back to kindergarten. Then we go back to the podcast about daddy issues. My father, there's so many different variables from where our mental health can be shaken. I don't necessarily believe it's a person who's been or comes from a family of mental illness has to stay there. I don't believe that, but I do believe that the events that happen in our lives and that shape our lives do play a big role in how our mental health is affected. And I do believe in positive change. Like me, I just bought a brand new dining room set, living room set, bedroom set. My daughter just got a brand new bed. Everything in my house, my new house, is brand new. Everything in my and whether my ex touched it, anything that's in my house right now or not, because I did get new furniture and all that after the fact, it don't matter. Like when I say I feel lighter, I feel lighter already. Like this major load has been lifted. Again, mental health, being in control or trying to make your life better is possible. Like no matter what you struggle with, it is possible when you make changes. When you're putting forth the effort to have positive changes in your life, you will start to see that cloud subside. At least that's what's happening for me. So I just thought I'd share that with you.
I think it's also important to have a really good support system in your life. If you don't have a good support system in your life to be able to call somebody up and say, hey, am I tripping? Or, hey, this is what's going on. Just somebody just to let you vent. I think it's important to vent. I think it's important to be able to have people around you that actually love you and care for you, and that can, even when you don't see that you're in a bad spot, can point it out to you. I think that that's very important with our mental health.
I just want to say, Ebony, I give you a lot of credit for being able to have that stuff around your house for that long, because I know you do know. I had a kind of a terrible breakup situation in the beginning of 2020, and he had left some stuff here, and I was kind of like, okay, like if we're done, you need to come get your stuff, or have somebody come get your stuff. He moved up way out of state down to Illinois, and I was like, okay, so I literally the only way I had to contact him was text. So I sent this like, pretty much a text to the landlord to give here. You have your 60 days to come get your stuff. I'm gonna hold it till this date. And I took pictures of all his stuff and that I had, and just like was going through my house, and he had only lived with me for like not even 6 months, and just kept finding stuff of his, and I was like, oh, I got to get box this up and get rid of it, and it was just like a lot of anxiety just finding his stuff, just even stupid little stuff at the end after I thought I had everything boxed up, and it's like, oh. And then he did end up having a family member come and pick it up, and I literally like took pictures of it all, had them like, I formed a document. I was like, okay, you're picking this up, you're signing this, you're taking this stuff. I still actually just found the paperwork the other day while I'm moving, and I'm like, okay, well, nothing's come of it since the beginning of 2020. At the same time, it's 2023. I'm like, I think I'll just keep those pictures and keep everything, just in case, because like I don't know, I don't trust people. Like I know that I had a big trailer. I had some big item stuff of his too. It was a big TVs, stuff like that, a trailer stuff. Just like, okay, somebody took his stuff. It's signed for. They took it. Like it was a family members of his that came and got it. But still, it was just like just having to look at it, or just just knowing that it was like in your garage. I can't even imagine. Like,
Well, let me help you. Let me help you with it. So with that, mental. My mind for years told me he didn't have no god dang on reason for putting it in there. I told him not to put it in there in the first place. I'm supposed to spend my money to get rid of it? Use a lie. You need to come get it. That was the first part of it, but he never did. And so at that point, it had got to a point where not only was his stuff down there, but my son's stuff was my stepson's stuff was down there. And for a long time that felt like a death. That no longer feels like that, by the way, y'all. I don't feel like that, but that felt like I lost a child and he had passed away and all that. So like it's like a parent who leaves their child's room the same after they pass away because they can't go in there and they can't deal with it and they can't touch it. I did manage to sell some of the items and got rid of them or gave away a lot of stuff down there, but there became a point where I could not go down there anymore, and it was just like too painful because of my son. And so yes, knowing that it was down there, I held on to, again, this mental dysfunction of like, I didn't put it down there. And I told him not to put it down there. And he's trying to cost me. And I'm sitting here, I think I messaged Veronica or something this morning. I said, this is the last amount of anything that Mr. Who is going to cost me. And I'm more than happy to pay it. Because at that time, I just wasn't ready to accept responsibility for somebody else's BS who had caused me so much grief. And then even living in my house, like the, things he threw at my head and little nicks in the wall as I'm cleaning up and moving out of here. I'm just like, wow, you can't heal in the environment in which you became sick. Okay. And so though I did replace a lot in my house, like when I got re-involved in a different relationship, we had great memories. We had game nights in the beginning. We had all kinds of stuff, but it didn't take away from the trauma. So it was like, I was very stubborn about it. Like that's how I was able to, because I was so stubborn about, oh, he might have did this, but I'm going to buy new pictures and put them on the wall. I don't care if he threw something at me. I'm going to cover it up with this. And you can't cover up your life. What it does is it just continues to manifest into something bigger. And before you know it, you can't even go in certain sections of your house. And you don't want lights on in your house, and you don't want to remember certain things that happened to you in that space. And that's where I've been. And then COVID came, right? And it made it even darker because I was forced to just be in solitude. So it was like, again, I couldn't put one foot in front of the other and just move away and do what I needed to do. And now it's just so freeing. It just feels so freeing. And I'm like, dang, I did not realize that I was so mentally tore down by this. Like, that is the one thing in my life that I can say that has mentally torn me down is the demise and the craziness that surrounded my last marriage. That destroyed me. as a person, like emotionally, physically drained me, mentally, like it destroyed me. And to be at that last little bit of something to be done with it, it's a feeling that I didn't even know that I needed to feel. So yeah, that's how, I mean, I was angry. I felt like he needed to do something about it. And that's how I was able to stay away from it and say, hey, you gonna deal with this. And realistically knowing he was never going to. I probably could have handled it years ago, but I just wasn't in that mental space to do so. So I am today though. So
So I just wanted to chime in. There are 4 different types of mental health. So there are mood disorders such as depression or bipolar disorder, anxiety disorders, personality disorders, and then there's psychotic disorders such as schizophrenia. So it's so many different layers to it. And I think, May is, Mental Health Awareness Month. So there is a lot of things that are going out about it to be, people to be more aware of it. And, the personality disorders, I think a lot of people struggle with that and don't even realize they have, a mental health issue because they're just like, oh, that's just the way I am. And it's like, no, it's not healthy. But I'm trying to think of, there was something else I was going to say. I'll come back. Go ahead if anybody else has something to say.
I think one of the biggest things is, the stigma and like talking about it. People don't want to talk about it. I think, us bringing it up tonight and putting it out there and, sharing some of our own stories and, everybody's family's got something, Oh, sorry. I mute my mic there. I definitely have an aunt that had schizophrenia. She's passed away now, but she had some, like Ebony was saying about how like your aunt watered the house. My aunt would like set the house on fire, not eat for days, different things like that. It was kind of really crazy. I don't know she had a couple different episodes. I don't know some of her episodes that she had when I was younger, but when I was older, I know she like set part of my grandma's house on fire. Like, it didn't really like cause a fire, but it could have been a lot worse, than it was. Just all kinds of stuff like, there's different, levels of depression too that people have. I think, self-care, like we said, is like a huge, huge thing that I think as moms, we don't always, like Janet had said too, you're taking care of your kids all the time. You're going to work. You're doing what you got to do. You're kind of, I don't know. For me, I feel like I have lived in fight or flight stage for a lot of my life. Just getting by day to day in that fight or flight. So I think, just being vulnerable and talking about it is like the big, big thing.
I agree. I wanted to go over some of the symptoms just in case someone is kind of trying to decide if this is something that sounds similar to things they might have been feeling. Maybe they've never spoke to someone openly about it. I'm just going to go over some of the symptoms. And then if Davina could have some resources when I'm done, just in case someone does need to speak to someone, she'll be able to provide that update. So a couple symptoms could be feeling sad or down, confused thinking or reduced ability to concentrate, excessive fears or worries or extreme feelings of guilt, extreme mood changes of highs and lows, withdrawals from friends and activities, significant tiredness, low energy or problem sleeping, detachment from reality such as delusions, paranoia or hallucinations, inability to cope with daily problems or stress, trouble understanding and relating to situations and to people, problems with alcohol or drug use, major changes in eating habits, sex drive changes, excessive anger, hostility, or violence. And then the last one is suicidal thinking, which I think, when you hear mental illness or mental health, that's usually the first thing people think of is, suicidal, thoughts and things. And it could be so many different things. So if you do have any of those symptoms or feel like, maybe is this something that I struggle with, I think you should at least speak to someone about it, and then, maybe someone is able to help you cope with it. We have the women's group. We're definitely here to advocate as much as we possibly can, and provide as many resources that we definitely want to be there for you all. So, and thank you. The vulnerability is so powerful. Thank you. Absolutely. Yeah, because we're just all regular people. And I think that's our main goal in this, is to bring awareness to topics that I think a lot of people don't speak about, and put a face to it, because we've all had different walks in life and different experiences, and we just want to be available to all women, to say, you're not alone. So Davina will follow up with a good resource.
Well, I guess my resources is, I guess, first, if you're wanting and ready to talk to someone, your first order of business is to talk to your primary care doctor, to get a referral. That way, then your insurance will be able to cover it. If you don't have any insurance, and you stay in St. Paul area, 1919 University has a walk-in there. You can walk in there and just say, hey, I need to speak with somebody regarding my mental health. And there is therapists, there's psychologists, there's all kinds of different resources in that building. In Minneapolis, I really don't know too many of the areas, but you can always Google it to see where Access is. And Access for mental health is where a number that you would be able to call. St. Paul also has the St. Paul Access, which is at the Ramsey County Government Center. The number there is 651 266 4444. You can call there and you can tell them that you want to get transferred over to Access. Access then will go ahead and they'll do a screening with you, and they'll see what kind of insurance you have. That way, then you could either get mental health case management, or they can refer you over to a psychiatrist. But also, like I said, your primary doctor also can do all of that. If you have a primary doctor, you would just go in and let them know that you're experiencing some different changes within yourself, and you think that you need to see somebody. They can give you a referral for a psychiatrist and or a therapist. And they're also the ones that can say, hey, you might need some kind of treatment, depending on where you're at with your mental health. If your mental health is extremely bad, you can always walk into any of the emergency rooms and let them know that you want to check yourself in. The emergency rooms do walk-ins for check-ins with mental health. That way, then they're not placing a hold on you and trying to put you on commitment, but you're there voluntarily.
Another
Someone,
resource. Oh, sorry.
someone just chimed in with an address for Minneapolis. 1800
1800
Chicago
Chicago.
Behavior Health.
Okay, well, 1800 Chicago. That's another resource in Minneapolis. I was just going to say the text line, if you are having like a crisis or suicidal feelings, you would text 988 to 988. And that is the lifeline. Someone is available 24/7. So many resources. Don't feel like you're alone. Don't feel, like you'll be picked out and picked on because of it. I mean, we all have experiences with things, and I think it's better to get the help and feel better versus letting things spiral out of control. So
That's what. Oh, go ahead.
No, I just was saying I agree.
Oh yeah, because that's exactly what it was for me. Like not trying to be aware of that type of stuff, and even knowing like Devin was saying, like when you start feeling some type of way, and you like I don't want to feel this way, and you can't talk yourself out of it. It's like it's something that's stronger than you are, and so it's okay to get help. Don't feel like like it's weird or you're not normal, or because it is normal. We all have thoughts that are not pleasant sometimes. It's just don't live there. Don't let them control your life. Get the help that you need. So that's all I wanted to add in.
And I can agree, Devin, on that substance and alcohol abuse piece, because I feel like now that I'm in a better headspace, I don't lean to the alcohol. It's not even a thought process. I don't even think to buy alcohol anymore. You know what I mean? So I can only reference the fact that I'm not anxious. I'm not, super stressed on edge. So that was definitely, it definitely coincided. I feel like it was, went hand in hand with my anxiety, me wanting to, have a glass of wine or, drink or whatever the case to, in my mind, mellow me out or have me not, what I mean, think and be anxious. But it wasn't solving the problem. It was temporary.
I think I wanted to touch on that too. Yeah. A lot of people that use drugs and or alcohol are just masking the issues. They're not dealing with it. And so at the end of the day, you can use as many drugs as you want or you can drink as much as you want, but at the end of the day, your problem is still going to be there for you to have to face at some point in time. And by using drugs and or alcohol and not dealing with the issues that you have in life, all you're doing is digging yourself down into a deeper hole to where then you have more issues.
I also believe that social relationships and domestic partnership relationships are also big in affecting your mental health as well. I mean, that's basically where mine continued to spiral out of control as I became an adult, just by the people and the things that I dealt with in my life, and not going to the right people and not going to the right resources and not seeking out the things that were out there to help me. I just continue to, no different than a person that drinks alcohol or drugs. I self internalized and tried to deal with those issues on my own. Y'all heard me sit here and say, no, he shouldn't have put him down there. It don't matter if he put stuff down there, get it out of there, right? That's the realistic way of thinking. But, it's, I think, who we involve ourselves with, the things that we allow in our life. Like, we need to, I mean, when is enough enough? Like, when do we talk to somebody about these issues? If we can't see ourselves past or through these issues, like, when is the right time to talk to somebody about it? Or how do we get out of our own space, our own mental spaces, our own headspace, and say we actually need these resources? Because there are a lot of people that are in situations that are oblivious to the fact that they even need help. Just saying. So how do we encourage one another to I mean, some ideas, I guess, because I'm sure there's somebody that may later on ask, maybe one of us by inbox, because I know I be getting inboxes, so I'll be like, but I mean,
I know that there's a forum that actually asks you a series of 20 questions, just to see how it is mentally that you're doing. And then at the end of the forum, you're able to score yourself. And depending on what that score is, tells you whether or not you should seek immediate help or if you should start looking into help. So it kind of directs you into that way. I'll look up that form so that we can post that on our website.
okay.
It's funny though, because I used to do that form and would lie, because
Yeah.
I mean, so if
You
you're
don't
not
want to do
truthful,
it.
if
Yeah,
you're
I
not
was just,
truthful, you know what I mean? Like, I'm good. And it's like,
I was
if
just
you're not,
thinking.
So
yeah,
the,
you're not.
so the advice for the audience here is to be honest with yourself. Like, this is
Exactly.
Yes.
going to be a form that only you are looking at. And so at the end of the day, it tells you what it is that you need to do and whether or not you're ready to act on it. We kind of went over our 5 stages of change and whether you're ready for it or not. Like, at the end of the day, you're the one that has to deal with it. And are you ready to make that move and that change?
Right.
Do you want to be able to see yourself doing better and thriving? I try to look at life like we are trees. It says in the Bible, from dust we became, to dust we will become.
Yep.
And what do we think of that? Like, we're trees. We need sunlight and we need water, physically and mentally. I don't need to be mentally in a dark space. I need to always be able to be shooting for the sun. I need light in my life. And so, what does that look like? When you get in a dark spot, look for the light and try to find that. And sometimes that is just reaching out and telling your physician, like, hey, I'm in a dark space. That is confidential for you to go and speak with your primary doctor about that. And they're supposed to give you resources, they're supposed to give you referrals. Now, whether you choose to act on that is on you. But if somebody's giving you that kind of advice, I think that just trying it out. If you've never tried it out before, then you'll never know what you are able to do. If you try it out and it doesn't work for you, then go back to your primary and say, hey, I did that and it didn't work for me. But I think it just all boils back down to communication. Like, we have to, as humans, communicate to be able to say, this is what I need. If you feel like no one is pouring into your cup and you can't regenerate yourself in any type of way, then you have to figure out for you how it is that you're going to get your cup back filled.
Indeed. Agreed.
Yeah, I agree with that too. And I think it's just being honest, what we think and the things that we go through in our mind, it determines our quality of life. And we were not meant to live a life weighed down by our mental. That's not God's design for us. He wants us to live life and live life abundantly. So you have to be honest. You have to be real, and you do have to get vulnerable. Even if you don't feel comfortable getting vulnerable with people in your circle, like Davina said, you can go to your physician. It's confidential, but you're gonna have to get vulnerable, because if you lie about it, they can never fix it. They can fix something, but it will never fix the problem, because you're not being honest about what it is. So, be honest to yourself. You owe that to yourself. You owe that to your family. You owe that to your life, to live the best quality life that you can. And if you're not being upfront about what it is that's going on, you won't ever get the help that you need. So I just want to encourage somebody today to just do it. Don't even think too hard about it. Just go get the help. Nobody can judge you. I can guarantee you your therapist will have a therapist. That's just what it is.
For
Like,
sure.
it's like we think that we have to hide these things, and like it makes us crazy or something like that. But what makes us crazy is sitting in our thoughts when we talking to ourselves. No, I didn't. Yes, I did. Yeah, that's crazy. But when you go get help and you get somebody to help you sort those thoughts out, and what's reality and what's not, and why you feeling like this, then you'll start to experience a much better life. So I just wanted to say that.
Well, and the funniest part about that, Veronica, are we are our biggest critics. We are
Yes.
always in our head thinking of what somebody else is going to think or say about us.
Yes.
And sometimes it's not even that. It's what we're thinking about us, what
Right.
we're feeling about us. And when you remove how you're feeling and what you're thinking about yourself and trying to turn that into a positive, you could care less of what somebody else has to say or think about you.
Hello.
I wanted
I
to chime
agree.
in also. I just wanted to shine a light also on not just ourselves and our mental health and what we're experiencing, but also to make sure that you leave an open door for your child or your children. Because imagine the stress and the mental health issues that we deal with as adults. And we were brought up in a totally different world than what we're living in today. So these babies are going through a lot. Unfortunately, we try praying over them every night, every day, but at the end of the day, they have their own mental battles. My daughter was cutting and I didn't even know it, and I felt terrible. She didn't even bother to bring it to me. And for her, she said that she knew that I was going to get mad. And initially I did. I got angry. And my response was not what I should have responded, and it wasn't what she needed to hear. And I circled back and I apologized to her, but I was more angry. Like, what are you doing? Are you dumb? Like, do you know what that could do to you? You can die doing that. Like, what, instead of thinking, why did you feel the need to do that? Like, what's really going on? Yeah, that you can die from doing something like that. So what made you feel so low that you wanted to do that to yourself, knowing what the risk was? So I just wanted to shine the light on that, just to keep the open door policy for your kids, any family members, because you really never know what somebody's going through and what they're experiencing. And if they can't come to you, as their mother, you know what I mean? I mean, who can they come to? You know what I'm saying? So I just, just like I said, just chime in, even if it's just a weekly check-in. Hey, how's everybody doing? Y'all good? How's school? Anything new? Check for body language. Like if they're, my daughter, she kind of shut down. She wasn't really coming out of her room. She, was complaining about her weight and stuff like that. There were little things that I should have paid attention to that I didn't, because we don't naturally just pay attention to those things when we got everyday life going on, work and everything else. But I did want to shine a light on that because, like I said, these kids are living in it's a tough atmosphere today versus 30 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I can agree with that. I will say a few times, in my relationships, it was one of those like, let me not say anything and just show face like everything's good, because I don't feel like hearing the backlash, and I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to.
You're on mute. We can't hear you.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
We can hear you now.
Okay, my bad. I didn't mean to hit that. Sorry. But that just comes with, the backlash, and maybe I wasn't ready to leave that relationship at that time. So, if I tell people what's going on, you know, then that means we'll be over. And even though in your mind, mentally, this is wrong. I should not be going through this. I should not be feeling like this. And those are the things that we're trying to bring light to, because when you know something's not wrong, I mean, not right internally, you feel it.
Mm-hmm.
Trust that feeling.
Yep.
Act on that, because love does not hurt. Love is none of that. Everything that you go through in life should not be painful or stressful. Yes, life is hard. It's hard, and we know that as adults that life does get hard. But when you have someone who is intentionally doing things to make it harder, you don't need that. That'll mess with your mental health, and that situation can make you go crazy because you're dealing with things that you shouldn't. So, I just wanted to touch base on that, because I feel like I went through situations that I'm surprised I didn't, go like seriously crazy one day because of the things that I went through. But thank God, that he pushed me through things where he was like, "This is not your end." So I'm gonna keep you. I'm gonna keep you, and when you get done, you need to tell your story, and that's why it's so easy for me to tell all my business on all these platforms, because it's gonna help someone.
Mm-hmm. I think it's important to always ask the why as well. Like Janet said, why is very important.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember it was about maybe 7 years ago at work, we did a study and we created a fish on a piece of paper. And on the fish, on the back of the fish, we put what our problems were. And then off of those problems, we had to ask why. Why was that a problem? Like, what was it causing? And then we had to ask from that, like, why does it have to be like that? Why hasn't it changed? And why is it causing this problem? And just continuously asking to every question that we answered, another why was there, which then helped us solve that one problem and how it was that we needed to make a change in that area. And so if you continuously ask yourself Why am I like this? Well, because of the environment that I live in. Well, then why do you live in that environment? Well, because I don't have enough money. Well, why don't you have enough money? Well, because of my job. Well, then I need to get a better job. Somewhere out here, we all have a place. So if you're at a dead end job, go and apply for other jobs. Jump, take that leap. Believe in yourself that you can do this. Manifest that and just go with it. If it's something that you want, you have to be able to put the time and the energy into it. If I'm in a dark space at home because my relationship isn't working, why isn't my relationship working? Is it me or is it him or is it the both of us? And then why am I staying in it? What am I getting out of it? Just continuously ask yourself why, and you'll be able to get to the root of the problem and understand how it is and what it is that you need to do to create and fix that.
Indeed.
Amen. You
All
are
right.
worth it. You are
Looks
worth
like we
it.
had time. We got to jump in prayer line, y'all. This Saturday, we will be having our first Hot Seat Saturday. So look out for that. That'll be Saturday at 6 p.m. Sunday, we will be having the book club as well. So look out for that. But yeah, we will be jumping on the prayer line. So anybody who has not ever been on there, maybe today should be your first day. Just pop in, see how it is, see if you like it. Otherwise, we will see y'all there or see you at the next podcast. Love y'all.
We'll post the link for the prayer line too, right when we end this podcast. So
I also I also want to tell everybody here that we also have the empowered approach every day at 6 o'clock, other than Wednesdays and Sundays. So at 6 o'clock, if you have anything that you want to talk about or some problems that you're having within yourself and you just can't figure out the answers, jump on there at 6 o'clock and we can walk through that.
And we
And
have
Talk
a special
Tuesdays at 9 p.m.
Yep. And Talk Tuesdays at 9 p.m. as well. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. See y'all next time. Bye.